are watching Weekend Prime with Richard Okenye.
Right, thank you very much for still staying tuned to KUTV Primetime News, this particular Saturday. It is the 15th of May. If you're just joining us, thank you very much as well. Continue sending your feedback all across our social media platform, that is at KUTV Kenya. You can as well find me on those platforms at Richard_Kenya. Today is the 15th of May, which is the International Day of Families, which is taking place today, but has been, of course, been celebrated throughout the week. That has culminated to this particular D-Day, and that in the country it is coordinated in collaboration with the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection. And here in studio, I'm joined by Dr. Lucy Ogola, who is a senior lecturer here at Kenyatta University, as well as with Kinuthia Wamwangi, who is currently the executive director, sir, if I am right, okay, of, I don't want to preempt so much into your profiles, of Embrace Kenya. So I'll allow you guys to, of course, introduce yourselves properly, because you have more of the information than I do. Thank you very much, and I'm glad that you're able to join me. We'll begin with you, Dr. Lucy.
Okay. Thank you, Richard, for having us. I'm happy to be here. My name is Dr. Lucy Katuri Ogola. I am a lecturer, as you said, in Kenyatta University, the Department of Community Resource Management, and I'm also a member of the Kenya Association of Geriatrology, and Geriatrics.
Right, that's KAGG.
KAGG.
Yes.
The organization was formed with the vision of upholding the well-being of older persons, and again, I'm happy to be invited here.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And EBS, the Elder of the Burning Spear. I've never come this close to an award that has been given out by the President in recognition of someone who's done some outstanding work. Of course, I've been going through your profile, and you know, you've worked all across municipalities as well. You've studied abroad and here locally. Maybe a brief introduction to what you are currently focused into, maybe, and a bit of your background.
Yes, I'm Kinuthia Wamwangi, and I'm Chairman Emeritus, Transition Authority. That's the job I did last in government.
Right.
Right now, I'm in many things. We are promoting First of all and foremost, I am the helpage ambassador for the older persons in Kenya. And in that capacity also, I belong to a very, very superior organization.
And what's that?
And that superior organization is the KAGG.
Which is what we have here today.
And I am their advisor.
Right.
And advisor in many things. And particularly advisor on the concerns of the older persons.
Right.
Probably it may interest you that in that capacity I'm an anointed Jamba warrior class of the Kikuyu Council of Elders.
You are a man of decorations.
I'm decorated by, I'm already decorated in that area.
Both home and national.
Yes, in the warrior class of elders.
Right.
But besides that, as a professional, I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. And since I left former work, I am in consultancy, and particularly there is that organization you mentioned, Embrace Kenya and Embrace International.
Right.
I'm a chairman of both.
Of both of these.
Yes, I'm a chairman of Embrace International.
I am
and Embrace Kenya.
I'm amazed by how much you can be able to achieve in one lifetime.
I'm also in the Masai Mara University Council.
Right.
Yes, I'm the chairman of finance.
All right. I'm glad to have you on
Masai Mara University. Yes.
To have this discussion with us.
Yes.
Now, Dr. Lucy, maybe we begin with you again. Why are we celebrating the International Day of the Families? Why is this important? Why is this a day? Before I came into studio, I was having a discussion with people who, colleagues I work with, and some of them have heard of it today for the first time, the International Day of the Families. Why are we celebrating it, and when did this begin?
Thank you, Richard, and happy International Day of the Family. For me, as a family expert, I'm really excited that this day came to be in 1993. The day was set by the UN for people to celebrate their family. We have days celebrating other things, the mother, father, African child, so it was felt that it is worthy to celebrate the family unit as a whole. And today, it gives opportunity for us to create awareness of what is happening in the family, what families are doing, what needs to be done more for the well-being of the family, and just to take a step back and watch and see where are we going and what needs to be put in place to ensure families are where they're supposed to be and their well-being. And Richard, you know, a lot of the SDGs revolve around the family. Because for them to be achieved, we have to put policies in place and programs that will enhance the family so that the development is actualized.
Right.
And more specifically, again, for me as a family expert and KGG member, why we are really keen as an organization celebrating this is because we focus on older persons who are very key and valuable members of the family. So for us, we are celebrating the family as a whole and essentially the older persons.
Right.
Society, yes.
Right. Now, sir, we are celebrating, she's saying we are celebrating the family as a whole and even as, you know, the older persons within our families. And you've been here a while, you are experienced, you've observed how the dynamics have looked like for the past few years. How would you say the family looks like differently now as compared to maybe 10, 20, 30 years ago?
First, I don't observe. I live it.
Right.
Right? I live it. I'm in the 7th floor.
Wow.
And
you look like a young man.
yes. So I live it. I don't observe. And I feel it. And I know it.
Right.
So what I would say that about 20 years ago, technology was not as well developed. And the digital space was not as wide as it is now. So at that time, I think a lot of living was dictated by normal social norms and culture. But you see, the exponential growth of technology has really removed the control of the family from the parents. Because I have a young granddaughter. Right now, when I see the things she's being put through, I don't know what she'll be when she
grows up.
When she grows up.
It's a totally different environment.
Totally different, totally different things. You see? So what has happened because of growth, wide growth of technology, even the older persons themselves have had to redefine how they live. That not only me and my generation, but also the generation of my mother. She's still alive.
Right.
Because maybe before, when I supported her, I sent her money or I talked to her in a different way. But now she has to have a phone because I'll send the money through the M-Pesa.
Right.
And she stands the danger because she doesn't know how to read or write. When she sends somebody to help her to collect the money I have sent her or the cash transfer from the government, sometimes, and I think it has happened, the one who has been sent is more likely to go to Fuliza and freeze some amounts.
And Fuliza a few.
Fuliza a few. And she keeps on complaining. So she has been thrown into the deep end.
Right.
And because everything you do these days is in technology. It is not a question of sending the matatu or the boda. You know, before you send the money with the matatu guy and say, collect it from so-and-so.
Right.
Now you collect it from your phone.
Directly.
Including her. So she has to have a caregiver and a helper, a technology helper.
And someone who's trustworthy as well.
Somebody who is trustworthy. So, number two, I think a lot of this space, you know, there's what we call co-residence, where people stayed together. And they use the same space, like the same house. You went and you are around the house. Now, a lot of people are outside their homesteads. And therefore, their families are dispersed.
Right.
And therefore, it is very difficult to keep these people together in unison. Yes, like me, the way I brought up my children, we had our Mwangi culture, and we are known about our Mwangi culture.
Right.
They call me Mswati, because
the king of Eswatini.
Yes, they are Swatini.
Yes.
But now, it's very difficult for a father because the father is either working somewhere and he's required to work away.
Right.
The mother, you know, all these things have really changed the homestead.
Now, when we bring it now closer,
Yes.
from 30 years ago, Dr. Lucy, to around 2 years ago, when we were encountered by the unprecedented COVID-19 pandemic, how has that impacted family structures and how they're operating at the moment, considering we are already almost 2 years into it now?
Yes. I'll take it from where Wamwangi has talked about co-residence. I think COVID-19 has had an impact on the family. Part of them are positive, others are negative. Allow me, I'll just point out two positives and two negatives. The positive thing I see myself is that people were able to have now interactions more, quality time,
Right.
especially when people had to work or stay at home.
And now they're forced to be together.
Yes, they are forced to be together as family units, either as spouses, partners, or people and their children. That was, I think, spending quality time was key for people to stop a bit, because like in urban settings, people are always on the move, in a rush. You wake up, you don't see your children, you go to work, you come back, the child is asleep. So you don't perhaps even see your spouse in the morning, you're going different directions. I think the slowing down has been good. And then the other thing which I see is now the parents' efforts being seen in actual parenting, especially with the school aspect. Before COVID, most of the schooling was being done in the classroom. Then we're told, here are your children, for a certain future. So we had to deal with our children,
Right.
handle them, school them. If you're not online, you're
You
keeping
have
them
to.
busy in a certain way of schooling, the way you know how best. And I think it was very strenuous for most parents,
Right.
including myself. But then we got the drift, and then we started now getting into more involved with our students, with our children's work, and now monitoring them more, which is, I think, a positive thing. On the other side, the one thing I see, the negative side, was this interaction now. You can't travel like to see your parents as you wanted to be. That kind of interaction has been curtailed by COVID-19. And you know, Kenyans, we like activity, we like social gatherings. We can't do that. If you have a wedding, for example, Richard, today, you invite only about a handful of people. And then the same is happening for, I think, so that's the negative side now, of where you can't just interact the way you want to. But in the co-resident, what Wamangi is saying, it has increased quality time together.
Right.
My last observation with regard to the negative effects is the economic effects. Many families already living in poverty. What COVID has done, it has denied many families livelihoods, and that has pushed them further on the downside of the economic vulnerability. All that said, I think Kenyan families, because that's what I've observed most, are very resilient. And they have taken up, especially technology, to make sure they keep connected, they communicate, and they share that space. Nowadays, we send people virtual hugs,
Right.
and they actually receive. We can talk technologically, we don't meet physically, but we've been able to adapt and remain resilient.
We have to try and embrace with what we
Yes,
have, the
yes,
tools that
yes.
we now
I
have.
think that's very, very key for family resilience, which is very, very good.
Right.
Yes.
Now, that is what we have so far in terms of how family dynamics have changed in the past few years and even leading into the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, before we maybe move now into what the theme of this year is for the International Day of the Families, which is the role of digital technologies on social development and well-being, let's take a look at this particular story now. After dark months struggling with the coronavirus pandemic, Europe is finally hitting its stride with vaccinations and economies picking up, and the countries emerging from lockdowns and reopening their borders to foreign tourists. Lisa Bryant, we are here to celebrate or to observe the International Day of the Families. And I have been on set with Dr. Lucy Ogola, as well as Sir, who is Mr. Kinuthia Wamwangi, Mr. Kinuthia Wamwangi. You know, I understand people who have Wa before their second name, it's usually separated. Why is yours the same name?
It's just a style. It's a branding. It's branding.
It is your type of branding.
Yes.
Now, if you can begin with you. Now, this year's theme, which is focused on the role of digital technologies on the social development and well-being. We are trying to see how now there's a difference in the divide between the existing generations currently. As you said, you're in the 7th floor. Your mother is still around, which is a different set of generation of people. And all these people still have to interact with technology, as Dr. Lucy had said. We are now in the COVID-19 pandemic, and we have to embrace and, you know, live with what we have and use the tools that we currently have. Now, how can we support the well-being of older persons with this kind of new technologies that we now currently have in our society, something that they might not have been conversant with years ago?
Let's first of all address and make ourselves aware that we have 5 sets of generations that are living in Kenya today. In fact, there are 6. The silent generation, that is the generation that where my mother is. We have the baby boomers.
Right.
We have Generation X. We have Generation Y. We have Z and Alpha. And Alpha, probably that's where my granddaughter is. She's being introduced to technology before she's 1 year old.
She's already into
I was introduced to technology when I was nearly, I don't know whether the time allows me to tell you that a lot of my generation in 1995, when I think Generation Y was coming into existence, not 96, X, no, Z, one of the generations coming into effect. They introduced computers, desktops, to managers.
Who had never interacted with.
Who had never interacted. And you are told that they will not ring you. You know, we used to have that thing of the big booth.
Big booth, yes.
Big booth, the
Yes.
telephone. And when they introduced the money, and not only in my company, Canon Metal Box, even in BAT and everywhere, then you are told a meeting will be called by telephone. I was given 2 computers. The first one I gave my assistant. The second one I gave my doctor. And I was still given a third one because they said everything, we shall communicate you through email. And we were taken through instruction. So a lot of us who were managers at that time, and I can count quite a number who were my friends, we chose to quit than be subjected
to the torture of new technology.
To the torture of new technology. When I went at the age of 49 to do masters in Britain, my first assignment I did it longhand, and it was rejected.
Because
I was forced to have it typed by somebody else. I paid £100
to be typed for.
To be typed for.
Something we currently do at the comfort
and that
of
forced
our
me
homes.
straight away to go into college and learn how to learn computer. So now, that's the way I was introduced.
Right.
These others have been introduced differently and through different types of technology. From the big frame IBM computer, desktop, then you have this laptop, then you have the smartphone. So we are coming into technology in different ways.
Right.
So, whereas we can say that there is a divide, the same technology is also creating solutions.
Right.
Because right now, where we are, everything that you do, the government has 200 services that it is offering through e-citizen. So whether you are baby boomer, silent, or whatever, you must use e-citizen. When somebody asks you what is your e-citizen,
you have to use
If you go to the financial space, you have to do internet banking. You see? And there are so many M-Pesa. M-Pesa right now, we are being told that through M-Pesa, people are borrowing 1 billion a day. 1 billion a day. So almost everybody is using M-Pesa. If you want money, you have to go to M-Pesa.
Right.
So because of that, also health. Health has also now become technological. In the one cubicle, the doctor can see you through Zoom and analyze you and
doesn't have to be there with you.
No, it doesn't have to be there.
Right.
And you are treated through there.
No.
So the baby boomers, if we may take them as the earliest, forget about my mother, have been thrown into the deep end.
And they have to adapt.
And have to adapt.
Right.
And everybody now has to adapt for the same things because we are scrambling for the same services. So I think the technology is both a divider and a unifier.
Right.
Because we are being forced now to be in the same space, claiming the same services.
So now the issues, Dr. Lucy, the issues of older persons receive inadequate attention currently in society because of that divide, which is also being solved. The solutions are being given by technology. So now how then can these issues be brought forth by using technology, the issues that older persons are facing?
Okay, you are correct, and I agree that issues of older persons usually are in the periphery most of the time. And a lot of this is because people in society feel the older persons perhaps have done their work. They need now to be taken care of. So many people see them as a burden and they are not productive anymore, so people want to put them at the side. But it's critical for us to put older matters at the fore, Richard, like you said. And this is especially because, like you can see, Wamwangi here, they have a lot of experience to share. And they are very key members of the family. So I think one way we can be able to bring these things, their matters to the fore, is one, by exploiting the avenues which are already existing. Like he's observed rightly, the divide is being solved through digital solutions. So we use what is there, like the virtual spaces, to have this conversation about older persons. If I may use an example of KUTV, this week, as gearing up to today, we were able to do a webinar. We were also about older persons. We were able to also launch an e-newsletter, which would have done on print, but we did it on for people to be able to read on issues aging. The newsletter is called Age Matters. So I think using existing platforms to give voice to issues of older persons.
Right.
The other way has already been said is about telemedicine, which is really, really working as a solution in the healthcare sector. And I think the other way is now using media. And I thank you again for letting us come. Mainstream media can give a very good platform. If media can embrace matters aging, matters older persons, I believe we can really go far because it gives a voice, a very, very wide platform for us to use, of course, in addition to the social media platforms.
Right.
I think those are my three points on how we can take it forward.
Now, Mr. Wamwangi, even as we try and wrap up, because I'm seeing here we are past Mr. President Uhuru Kenyatta's curfew hours as well, and we are trying to make sure that people are getting home early as possible. So how can the implementation of existing and developing new policies improve now the issues and also the well-being of older persons, and maybe as well as your parting shot as we come to Dr. Lucy?
Yes, it's important that I use this media now to tell you that we have a national policy on older persons. And it has been, you can call it a proposal. It has never been implemented, but it is there. The government has prescribed solutions to the problems of the older people. If only that policy was implemented. One of the solutions it has provided is to have a national council for older persons to carry out and to implement the solutions. Then we have, of course, there was a sessional paper to back it up. We have things like the NSSF and NHIF, yes, and we have other government programs like the cash transfer and things like that. So I think what we need right now is your support, as she has said, the media and other goodwill people, to have both the act that regulates the treatment of older persons, the policy, all implemented and operationalized. And that, if it is done, I can tell you, we shall be in the same space that women and youth and people with living with disability are in now.
Right.
You know, these people are in very comfortable spaces. They are envying them.
The issues are being highlighted.
They get free seats in Senate, free seats in the National Assembly.
Yes.
You know,
ask those they
just like that. So we want the same treatment. We want to go to Agpo. We want to be treated in the same way as those people as part of the marginalized group. We also want the government also to facilitate education and civic education, learning for the older persons so they can understand these platforms. And I've started to champion for the government to sponsor manufacture of smartphones, cheap smartphones
for the older persons.
For the older persons, just the way they did for the primary kids. They told Jomo Kenyatta and I think this university and another to produce tablets. These things should be produced locally because we have the Silicon Savannah. So why is it there? If they can't begin to manufacture these phones and be very, very, very affordable, even given free to the older people, so that they can be able to operate and carry out these programs as is required.
Right. Yes. Now, Dr. Lucy, I'm really sorry that we are running out of time, but maybe your last remarks on the International Day of Families, as well as your thoughts on, or your suggestions on how you think we can feel as generally as a society, as people who exist in our individual communities and families, can embrace and help the well-being of older persons.
For me, I start by saluting all families. And then just to, my final remark is that let us care and celebrate our families. Let us value the family institution. It's very, very key. The family is the basic institution of society. So let us value what we have, celebrate the family every day, and more importantly, value our older persons and give them their place in society.
Right.
Yes, in whatever sector we are in the family, politically, economically, let us salute these older persons because they are key members of family. Thank you.
Right, right. That was Dr. Lucy Ogola, who's has given us very powerful words there. Let's embrace the people who are older persons within us and who are within our communities. Maybe just one last statement from you, sir, before we go for a short break.
I believe in the family, and I'm a very, very successful family man.
Right.
I brought up adult people in my family. I believe in the family up to now. So that is one thing. And therefore, when I celebrate this day, I'm celebrating myself and my family. So it's very important to me. But above all, I want to thank the Kenya government through this media. Because now that I'm the ambassador for older people in Kenya, I have become aware that seriously the government is considering the issues of older persons.
Right.
I think it's only a matter of time before these things are resolved. And I think we should recognize and agree when good deeds are done. I want to thank the government once again for thinking more about older people and doing something about it.
Right.
You can see KGG, myself, and others. We are now being involved in government resolutions and government policies.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you very much for coming through, sir.
Yes, thank you.
It was a pleasure to have you. That was Kinuthia Wamwangi, who is also EBS. If you missed out on this whole conversation, you can find it on our Facebook pages. We have been streaming live since we began at 9, and as well, we'll be later on uploading it on our YouTube channel. So make sure that you are staying tuned right there to check out on our upload later on. I'm going to take a short break from that heavy and very important conversation on this International Day of the Families that is on May 15th of 2021, but I'll be coming back with what has happened in the world of sports, so don't go too far. This is KUTV Primetime News.